Tell me who rock, who sell out in the stores. You tell me who flop, who cop the blue drop, who jewels got blocks, who's mostly Dolce down to the blue top. The same old pimp, Mace, you know ain't nothing changed but my limp. Can't stop till I see my name on the blimp. Guarantee a million sales, pull a level up. You don't believe in Harlem World, nigga, double up. We don't play around, it's a bet, lay it down. Niggas didn't know me 91, bet they know me now. I'm the young Harlem nigga with the Goldie sound. Can't no PD, niggas hold me down.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcoming to you all. Welcome to the Money Time podcast. This evening we are discussing financial stress. This is something that we've all experienced at some point in our lives, and we are hoping that you may be able to share your experience maybe later through an email or something, because the reason why we're doing this is to recap on certain experiences, and we all go through this, definitely. And before we can carry on with the episode, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Zweli Denzela, and I am not alone. I'm with my co-host here, Mrs. Nikki Frelinghouse. Nikki, how are you today?
Evening, everyone. I'm fantastic. I hope everyone's warm and well.
Certainly, we hope that everyone is warm and well in this winter. Nikki, a very, very interesting topic, something we all go through at some point in our life. Why this topic, Nikki? Financial stress.
So, Zweli, some of the viewers have been reaching out to me via our social media platforms as well as via email. And one of the areas that came up over the last 2 to 3 months was around financial stress and how to handle financial stress. So I thought it would be a good idea for us to tackle this for one of the podcasts. I also think that this is a topic that's very relevant and something that people can relate to, even though it's a few years post-COVID. During the COVID time period, it caused a great deal of economic and financial distress for a lot of people. Some people may be over it, but other people are still recovering from the financial after effects of COVID. We also here in South Africa live in a country where we're currently experiencing high interest rate cycles, high inflation, coupled with a high unemployment rate. So these are all factors and contributors towards financial stress. So I thought it would be an amazing topic for us to explore today.
Yeah, no, you've just said a lot of things that has triggered questions in my mind, but hopefully these questions may be answered through your explanations. But there's some factors that you mentioned, like especially issues like inflation and unemployment, and those are the things that can really put even a person who's working under so much financial stress, because the pressure of having your other family members not being employed will definitely put pressure on
Most
you.
definitely.
So those factors, they really count a lot. You may be surprised, why am I not doing okay financial, or it could be other external factors that are not like directly because of the way you handle your finances, but because of you've got certain responsibility, it may cause this financial stress. But Nikki, you probably have a better definition for this. What is financial stress?
Okay, I'd like to first start off by giving a disclaimer to the viewers and listeners. I'm not a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist. I am a certified financial planner and a certified money coach. So everything that I mentioned during the podcast will be coming through based on my experience as a certified financial planner and a certified money coach. So when we look at the definition of financial stress, a quick, simple explanation would be to say that it's just the tension and anxiety that comes from your financial situation, which would be your inability to meet your financial commitments or the fear of not having enough money.
No. When you say the fear, you just remind me about something that you touched on before during our other previous podcasts, talking about financial anxiety. So, you know, these things, they always repeat themselves in different topics, but you always,
Yes,
if you follow the Money Time podcast, you'll realize that there's a lot of things that interconnects with each other. Nikki, my third question is, because I'm thinking people may not really think that they are under financial stress because of they can't relate to just the explanation itself. But maybe once you give them examples of
yes.
what financial a person who's under financial stress may be going through. Can you provide us with examples maybe of that? Then it probably gives the viewers or listeners a clearer picture whether
Sure,
they.
Zweli. So a few common examples would be things like in over indebtedness, things like retrenchment, unemployment, unexpected expenses. You've touched on this one, financial pressures from the family, financial abuse, the inability to meet your financial commitments. In the case of business owners, it would be things like unpredictable income or invoices not being paid on time. So these are just a few common examples that could lead to financial stress.
Yeah, it's just a few, but yeah, I think a lot of people will really be able to tell whether they are under financial stress or not. You know, there's one that I see that you've mentioned, the delay in invoices being paid as a business owner,
Oh, no.
especially
Yes.
medium enterprises. They go through a lot of that when it comes to payment policies. You'll find that a well-established company that is able to afford to pay even that invoice because of the policies that they have, they'll tell you 60 days payment cycle, all those things. And yet, in your case, you do not have that luxury of time to be able to pay your own staff members and your own bills as a small business.
Yes.
These are the things that you know may lead to other things. You know, there's an interesting topic that probably I would ask for in the next coming podcast. It's more about finance and corruption. So
Do we really want to go there, Zweli?
I want us to go there because these are the things that, you know, may end up, you know, leading one to corruption. Because, and corruption, you know, it's so normal now, Nikki. I don't want to, like, you'll realize when, because I'll be leading this topic.
Okay.
This is the one that I'll be leading. So, and it's more focusing on small and medium enterprises, how vulnerable they are to falling into that trap of ending up being corrupt. Because this is, the delay in payments of invoices may cause me to start looking for other business. And whenever I get the opportunity to get a job, I may even lose myself in the process because I'm under pressure to meet certain bills. Now this person is saying, okay, I can give you this RFQ just to make sure that you give me 10% of that. And this person is the person who is inside the supply chain, and you see already there's corruption there. So, and it looks normal. So these are the things that, yeah, I can see you want to say something there.
Yeah, so Zweli, I think it's a topic we must definitely look at tackling, and you can certainly take the lead. I mean, as a business owner myself, I've never been involved in any RFQs or RFPs, but from what I do hear from others, there is an element of corruption involved. So let's be bold on the Money Time podcast, and let's tackle it in one of our podcasts. But very quickly, before we move on to the next question, I just want to add something around the concept of late payment of invoices. Now, I've been a business owner for the last 9 years and counting, and I run 2 different practices. And I also do some freelance work for a huge corporate in South Africa. And due to their payment processes and red tape and payments having to be signed off by 10 to 100 different managers, there have been times when I've gone without payment for 3 to 4 months. And I've been working for this huge corporate now for about 4 to 5 years. And it's not uncommon for there to be months where I'm waiting for an invoice to be paid, but it hasn't been authorized, or there's been a change in procurement process, etc. So if there's anyone who can relate to that sort of situation, it is myself. And maybe in a future podcast, we can specifically speak around business owners and challenges faced by business owners. And I can share how is it I overcome such challenges being a business owner myself. But I can assure you the months when this huge corporate does not pay, especially when it's consecutively for 3 or 4 months, it certainly causes a great deal of financial stress in my life.
Well, definitely. Now, it takes us to the next question, Nikki. How does that financial stress affect us as viewers, as listeners, as entrepreneurs, as family members? How does it affect us?
So there's many ways in which it affects us, really. I'm just going to cite a few examples. One would be, and let's look at corporates. If you employed and you work in a corporate or any company, you'd find that when you're under great deal of financial stress, your levels of concentration is going to be much lower, and your ability to focus is going to be much lower, because on the back end, your greatest challenge is, how am I going to be able to meet my financial commitments at the end of the month? So that would be one of it. The other one would be being absent from work, because people are trying to just cope with it, and the stress is so much that they can't even show up to work. Also, you'd find people who are under huge financial stress will take much slower to make decisions, or they'll procrastinate, because if all they have left is 1,000 rands and they owe people 5,000 rands, they're going to have to think very carefully about how they're going to stretch this 1,000 rands, knowing that they're not going to be able to meet the other 4,000 rand commitment. We also observe that people who are going through financial stress also tend to have a lower self-worth and self-esteem. They have the inability to sleep. They have disturbed sleep patterns. There's a loss of appetite. There's tiredness. There's physical pain in the body. which would also lead to high healthcare costs, which doesn't help because the whole idea is that you do not have enough money. So if there's no med aid, how are you going to be able to cater for these healthcare costs? And some other examples that I can think of is when you're under financial stress, it makes you very short-tempered. You tend to have more fights or conflicts with people. And the other big area is mental issues. So this can be things like your anxiety, panic, depressions, and also in severe cases, thoughts of suicide or bodily harm.
Yeah. You see, then it really becomes very serious, this issue, when you start listing how it affects a lot of us. And people may think, maybe I'm just, working too much. I'm just, there's a it's a meme on social media. And I think we all, people that have gone through financial stress, I believe I still go through it. And because some of these things, they are not under your control. And one of the things that they would do with this meme, because, we are a nation full of jokes, even about things that are serious. They would say on the 15th, they would show up maybe an angry face, and they would say, people who are getting paid today. And you look at that and you realize how much people can really notice certain things but don't know what's really going on with themselves, because even I remember at some time when I was also employed, even now it still happens, but a lot when I was still employed, where it's payday but you are not happy. You are just thinking about, this is not enough. What am I going to pay first? What is it that I cannot pay? You start wanting to prioritize your bills, see what's important, what is not, and yet everything is important. Because how, for example, how do you say, let me pay my rent and I will not eat the whole month? So sometimes it's a serious thing that you cannot even know what is it that you need to balance, and you end up with these consequences of being ill, short-tempered, and people don't really want to face these things and say, I have a problem. They think, it must be something else. It cannot be this. It might be that, I'm just tired and I wasn't in a mood to talk. And yet it's such things like financial stress. So thank you, Nikki, for just showing the effects that it has. And I'm sure the listeners would really associate with some of the things that when they reflect on their history or the previous incidents that they've had around this, they'll realize that they've certainly gone through financial stress, especially things like absenteeism at work. You'll find that now you have to go and solve some case because electricity is off. Now you are not able to work. You have to go somewhere and talk, make some arrangement, all those things. But thank you very much.
Zweli, just to add on that same concept, a lot of people don't show up to work because they do not have money for transport to actually get to work.
That's so true. It happens. It really happens. And these are serious challenges. Yeah. So are you able to share, because there might be some stats around South Africans experiencing stress. Do you have anything around that stats, information on how we're doing as a country?
Sure. I don't have anything current as in 2024, but I do have some stats for 2023, which I will share with you. So the 2023 annual Sanlam benchmark report found that 63% of South Africans were anxious about their finances, with 87% indicating that they felt financial stress, while 58% said that it was affecting their physical and/or their mental well-being. The same report revealed that 46% of the over 500 full-time employed respondents interviewed admitted to struggling to meet basic monthly needs like food and rent. In June 2023, so that's about a year ago, the latest Credit Bureau Monitor report and the Credit Market Monitor report found that 26.9 million credit active consumers, out of these consumers, 99.71 million are battling to meet their financial obligations. So it's almost a third. So I'm certain these figures a year later is pretty much the same or possibly much higher, because since then there has been more interest rate hikes and inflation hasn't gone down either. I would also like to disclose that the statistical information was obtained from an article published in the SA News on the 30th of June, 2023.
Oh, thank you, Nikki. This just, if everyone was listening, it just tells you that there is a high rate of financial stress amongst us as a nation.
87%.
It's very high. And, there was something, I don't know if we also discussed it here, but especially last year around how much you need to now survive a month, as maybe a medium, I don't know, middle class
Salary.
And we're talking about at least 40,000 rands income for you to be able to to be comfortable. And when you think about that, you just realize that, hey, it's getting really tough. It's getting worse. It doesn't, nothing is getting better. And I'm just wondering, Nikki, how would you contain now this financial stress when things are not getting better economically? Because one of the external factors is it's the economy itself. The inflation is really, really affecting us because we have to be able to afford what is out there, because there's nothing that you can never be self-sufficient in terms of what you consume. Like, you cannot have all the veggies, have meal, have rice now outside. And so it's really affecting all of us. But yeah, I guess maybe we'll have a better year with the changes that have come into place. We are hopeful that whatever that is happening will get better. But then my next question is, how true is this, that only people from lower LSM or lower income households experience financial stress?
That's not true, Zweli. It's actually a misconception out there. I mean, I run a wealth management practice where I work with high net worth clients. And without naming or shaming any clients, I can tell you that the financial pinch has been felt across, irrespective of what LSM you fall under and irrespective of how much you're earning, whether it's 40,000 or more. Yes, it is natural if you are in the lower income bracket due to things like socioeconomic conditions or basic education or lack thereof, that things would be difficult for you financially because your opportunities in terms of employment or earning more is limited. So yes, lower LSMs tend to suffer greater financial stress. But as I've mentioned, on the upper end, whether you middle class or or perceived higher income, etc., because we've gone through over the last 2.5 years, a high interest rate cycle. Trust me when I tell you, people who are sitting with bonds of 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, they have had to pay in excess of a minimum of about 3,000 to 4,000 rands extra per month on their bonds, which were things that they did not budget for. So yes, really, it's a myth out there. I can confidently say, based on my experience working with clients, both on the advisory as well as the money coaching side, irrespective of what income bracket you fall under, people have been experiencing financial difficulties, and financial stress is on a ultimate high right now.
Yeah, I think intentionally I had to ask that question because I also understood it that way, that it cannot be true. It's just that, it sounds like it's more on the low income household, but the truth is, whether you are high income or a low income, you all go through some financial stress.
Correct.
Just that it's at different levels. Because, for example, I was just thinking about it as an example that somebody's like same amount, your amount to pay rent might be 5,000. That could be stress for somebody who has to pay school fees
Yes.
so it's just at different levels, but it is still financial stress. It doesn't get better because yours it's a school fees and mine it's because it's stress. To all,
Yes.
it has some impact. You may find that I can go and sleep and be hospitalized. I mean, because of I couldn't pay my child's school fees, and you can be hospitalized because you couldn't afford your rent.
Yes.
So it doesn't get better, and I intentionally asked this question so that people can understand that no one is having it better. And the reason also I'm saying this is there was this example that I have to make, and it also made me realize that we are all going through something. This guy is in a shop, I won't mention, but just say X shop. We are all there. Myself, I'm also there. And this guy's going around, asking people for something, And then he approaches me, says, "Can you please buy me meal?" And I say to him, "Okay, let me see what I can do." He says, "Anything that you can afford," but he comes with a 5 kg. Okay, fine. Then the next thing I see him going to somebody else. And I'm like, this guy. Then I just took the meal out of my trolley and put it down. And when I walked around, I met him. I was surprised that I took it out because I told him, "Okay, give me the meal and go and wait for me outside." No, he's still going around. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy, what is he doing? And when he approached me and I told him that you are really frustrating me because I don't know how to help you. We are all going through something. If you think we are here because we are privileged, no, we are here because we all have to get something for our families. So if you think without any money, you can have 2,000 rands of groceries because you'll come to me, get meal, go to somebody, get tin stuff, get to somebody, get meat. It means you can be able to shop through that method and get everything that you want. You are really, really frustrating me. And that's when, and I told him that we are all going through something. Don't think that everyone who's here is having it nicely. Everything is nice. And he started apologizing, but you can see that this guy is not going to stop. Even after he said sorry, instead of the meal, I gave him 20 rand. I said, I don't know how to help you. Here's 20 rand, see what you can do. But he never stopped.
Really? I just need to add to that, right? I've also experienced that a few times at different shops where either you'll find someone, you're standing in the line and someone in front of you will say, please, can you help me out? I need to pay for this loaf of bread. Then, out of kindness, then you take their bread and pay for it. But you are right, and the same guy will then approach another shopper and ask for help. So you've brought forward a very common example of what does take place here in South Africa. And the big thing for me is exactly to your point, like, how can you help this person? Because you can see if the person's able to speak, the person's able to walk, that means that physically they can get some sort of job in order to buy themselves food, right? But why is it they taking the easy way out, playing on people's emotions, and saying, please, like, you felt sorry for the guy. And you said, okay, even the guy brought a 5 kg milli meal. You were ready to pay for it until you saw him approach someone else. And the same has happened to me several times as well, and then I feel even worse. I'll say, bring another loaf of bread or bring a liter of milk, because I look at it and I think, we've been told, irrespective of whichever religious background you come from or how you raise, it's good values to share and care and give to others. But there are, and I'm going to call them skelms, there are skelms out there who unfortunately manipulate you and play on your good nature.
Not true. And I'm bringing this up because of the topic that we are having. That and that question that we just went through. That is it true that only the lower income household? It's everyone is going through some stress, and we just have to be kind to each other. I mean, this guy, I even told him that the worst part about you, when I look at you, you are well groomed, you've shaved, you are properly, you've bathed, everything looks good on you, like you are okay. There's nothing wrong with you. And I'm just frustrated with the way you're asking for help. And I think for me it's the topic itself, that we are all going through something.
Yes.
So even we are all going through some financial stress. I think for me, that's where I maybe not all of us, let me not, but most of us are going through some financial stress. And to think that you can go to somebody and ask them to help you and go to somebody else and go to somebody else and go to somebody else, I don't think that's a fair thing to do when you are really seriously wanting help. But yeah, thank you, Nikki. I just thought, because of the topic, I should just bring that example up, because it really resonate with the question that we just dealt with about lower income. And it's not that I'm a high income earner, but when you just think that you can go into a shop because you are under financial stress and start asking everyone everything that you want, I don't think that's fair. It means that mentally you think there are people that are doing better than you, and therefore you can go to them and But yeah, thank you so much. Brings me to the next question. Do you have any tips to share? This thing is just triggering a lot of things. But yeah, do you have
I can hear.
Do you have any tips to share with the listeners of yours on how to manage? Because I think we really do need a solution. How to manage or avoid.
Sure. So, Zweli, I mean, I've got quite a few tips that can help people both manage as well as avoid financial stress. But let me start off with a disclosure or disclaimer to say that some of the things that I'm going to say, the listeners or viewers are not going to be happy to hear what I have to say. but I'd like them to know that our objective here at the Money Time podcast is to empower and educate people. So if what I say does not sit well with you, you've got to go deep within and try and understand why, and don't hate on me or Zweli or the podcast. I'm just trying to look at things from an empowerment perspective, and I trust that you accept it in the same manner. So still on that concept of empowerment, if you find yourself in a situation where you're experiencing financial stress because what you're earning is not enough in relation to your financial commitments, the first thing I would say is try and find yourself a side hustle or other ways of making money. Now, we have touched on this in different podcasts, and as Zweli has said, you'll find contents from all our podcasts tend to come together at some stage or the other. No individual can say to me that they do not have at least one skill that is sellable or that people will be able to pay them for. The problem is people are just looking for high amounts of money, or within themselves they find, oh, I'm not going to do this, it's beneath me, or this doesn't pay enough. You need to look past all of that. Look within. We did cover a podcast where we spoke about discovering your life purpose or your ikigai. Go back to that podcast. There must be at least one skill that you have that you can use after hours or over weekends that can at least bring you an extra 1,000 rands or 500 rands per month, which can help you, be it with 5 kg milli meal or bread or milk for the month. So I will strongly urge you, spend some time, think about it. What skill, what is it that you can do? What is your God-given natural talents that you can utilize to make yourself some extra income? A lot of people say to me, Nikki, oh no, I'm trying to find a job that will earn me a higher salary. Let me tell you, getting another job with a higher salary will not help the situation. Well, firstly, in South Africa, we are one of the countries with the highest tax bracket. The extra 5,000 you think you're going to make, half of it's going to be taxed by SARS. That is a reality, so that's not going to help you. And also, you are not addressing the root cause of what's causing the financial stress or why you in a negative financial situation, and that becomes more of a coaching issue. So you'll find yourself hopping from job to job, and that's never going to solve your situation because you're not dealing with the root cause. So back to my tip is find a side hustle or find other ways to earn extra income. The next one, it also touches on one of my favorite subjects that I'm highly passionate about, is budgeting. Review your budget. Rehaul your entire budget. Go through your bank statement, go through your line items line by line and look at it and ask, is this a need or is this a want? Now, a pair of shoes is a need. A pair of Jordans is a want. I hope I'm getting the point across. Go through your budget. You will find hidden treasures. You will find a lot of money if you just readjust your budget. Linked to that is live within your means. If all you earn is 10,000 rands per month, you can't be looking at renting an apartment in Sandton when you could be better off renting an apartment in another area of Johannesburg that is in relation to your salary. It's a tough thing for you guys to hear out there, viewers and listeners, but a lot of the reasons why people find themselves in financial stress is because they do not live within their means. We all would love to drive Ferraris, but if all you can afford is a Kia, then you drive a Kia. I hope I'm getting my point across here. Another big one for me is save a minimum of 6 months worth of expenses in an emergency account. This is something we've also touched on in various podcasts. Now, what is the advantage of doing this? If you save up to 6 months worth of your expenses in an emergency account, if you have a situation where you have a month of unexpected expenses, or if, God forbid, retrenchment comes along, you've got a safety net to dip into. Let me just pause for a moment and give you an example of one of my clients. I'm not going to give any names, but this particular client is married with 2 kids. The spouse is taking care of the kids, and my client is the breadwinner. Recently, he was told that he is one of a few staff members who has been retrenched. And when the client called me to set up an appointment, and I know they say men don't show emotions or men don't cry, but trust me, when I heard the tone of his voice, I could hear that he was very emotional and in a great deal of distress. So during the meeting, we chatted about the way forward, the fact that they were paying him 3 months worth of salary as part of his retrenchment package. So that gave him 3 months to find a job. But when we went further and we looked at his entire portfolio, he and his wife had consistently saved 6 months worth of expenses in an emergency account. And over and above that, they had a monthly savings account. So by the end of our session, we were able to give back the client an extra at least 18 to 20 months during which he could go without earning an income and have enough money to keep things going financially based on the expenses that he had. So I'm citing this example because when the client left my offices, the energy and the mindset he came in with was distressed. And what he walked out with was far more peace, calm, and a great deal of confidence, because now he was no longer under pressure to find a new job within 1 month. He had several months available during which financially, or the expenses would go off based on his savings account, his retrenchment package, and his bigger savings plan, while he could then find a job. So, listeners, viewers, please take that example to heart and know that this is a positive example. I have worked with clients in the past where they have been retrenched and it's caused great financial stress because once their retrenchment package payment was over, that was it. They had no money left to pay for their expenses. So please, guys, having savings in an emergency savings equivalent to 6 months worth of your expenses will really give you peace of mind in the event of any emergencies. And also, currently in South Africa, July is National Savings Month. South Africans do not have a high savings culture. So I also emphasize on this. In celebration or in honor of National Savings Month, even if you put away something as little as 50 or 100 rands per month, it's all about creating the habit of savings. And you'll find time flies by very quickly, and that 100 rands each month in a year or two will be 1,500, it will be 2,000 rands. And this would be money that you would have never had if you didn't put it away. I know I've said a lot on this point, so let me just quickly move on to the next point. Also linked to this would be plan for longer term purchases. Don't find yourself in a situation whereby, for example, you've been using Nokia, what's it, 310 or whatever, one of those Nokias for many years, and you've decided you want a smartphone. I mean, smartphones can be anything from 5,000 rands upwards. depending on the brand that you're purchasing. And if you're purchasing cash, do some research, get an understanding on the cost of the phone, and make sure you plan for that purchase by putting away money each month over a period of time in order for you to be able to purchase your desired smartphone. Another big one is limit going out and find other cheaper forms of entertainment. Zweli, I don't know when last you were at the movies, but apart from Ster-Kinekor going through financial distress and business rescue, I think they may be out of it, so I stand to be corrected. People are no longer going to the movies because it's cheaper to utilize streaming platforms like your Showmax, Amazon Prime, Netflix, etc. Now, for a family of 4, it will cost a minimum of 1,000 rands or more just for 4 tickets and your popcorn, soda, and Whispers or Jelly Babies or whatever you're choosing. So rather limit those forms of entertainment. Yes, it may take a bit longer for your desired movie to come up on Netflix, but really a saving of 1,000 versus waiting 2 or 3 months for a movie to show on Netflix. If I weigh the options, I'd rather stay at home and wait for the movie to play on one of the streaming channels. Also, if you find yourself going through financial stress and you are in a committed relationship or a partnership, communicate your financial stress to your partner. Burdens become much lighter when they're shared between 2 people as opposed to you carrying the burden by yourself. This may open another can of worms in terms of why you haven't been transparent with your partner around your financial situation, but I'll park that for now. But the point that I'm trying to get across here is communication. Also, if you find yourself in a situation where you are financially contributing or responsible for other family members, communicate what you're going through to them. And if you can't afford to give them 1,000 rands each month, but rather 500 rands, communicate that to them. Rather they get something than nothing at all. Also, when people are going through financial distress, they're very hard on themselves. I would say practice some self-care and compassion. Now, some of you would think, oh, but it costs money to practice self-care and compassion. No, it doesn't. There are many ways to practice self-care without further indebting yourself. So this could be things like journaling about what you're going through, your hardships, your feelings. I know a lot of guys out there are going to bring forward their ego or masculinity and say, Nikki, journaling's not for guys. But trust me, if you put that aside and you take pen to paper, a lot of guys have said to me that they found journaling very therapeutic, and it's a way of releasing what's happening in the head and in the heart. You could also try things like listening to Yes, Zweli?
Also record a song like through hip hop.
There you go, record a song where you express and sing out your feelings. You can listen to meditations on YouTube, look at things like taking a long walk, going for a hike to one of the nature reserves. For some people, praying works, so look at praying or reading the Bible or any religious book, depending on what religious background you come from. Read a magazine, an article. So there are many ways in which you can go inward and practice self-care and compassion. Other ways would be, or other tips would be to speak to a professional for assistance, like a certified financial planner or a psychologist. Also, depending on how severe your financial situation is, you may consider speaking with a debt counselor. Now, for me, this would be the last resort. As you guys know, here on the Money Time podcast, we do not encourage debt counseling. And I do know that this is my personal bias, but I do believe that debt counseling is not a solution. But if you need to, speak to a debt counselor. I'd also say when you go shopping for groceries, go for a list and stick to the list. This will also ensure that you do not purchase unnecessary items that you don't necessarily need. The last two tips I'd give is eliminate all financial stresses. So situations or people that are causing you stress, try and eliminate this from your life. The final thing I'd say would be stay away from harmful behaviors. So what do I mean by this? Going to Monte Casino to gamble away your paycheck in the hope and prayer of doubling it will not work. I don't know if you know of any people who have been successful at this, Zweli, or to the viewers or listeners, but personally, I've seen people who do that. Things turn out really badly and they lose the little money that they have. Also, harmful behaviors would be things like alcohol. Firstly, with the little money that you have, instead of paying 200 rands for a bottle of alcohol, rather use that to buy a few loaves of bread for the next few weeks. And also know that once the effects of the alcohol wear off, your financial problems are still going to be there. So for me, alcohol would definitely not be a solution. Also, things like suicide. If you decide this is it, can't handle the financial stress any longer, I'm committing suicide, that is a very selfish act in my opinion, because you may no longer be here. But hey, you pass on that financial stress you were going through, and all those financial commitments are now left with your family who remain behind to deal with it. So as you can hear from my tone, viewers, listeners, when you're going through financial problems or difficulties, stay away from these harmful behaviors. They are definitely not going to contribute or reduce or eliminate your financial stress. If anything, it's harmful for you and it gets you into greater financial stress. So once again, here at the Money Time podcast, we do not like victims. We do not encourage victimhood. We'd like to empower you. And every tip that I've shared comes from a place of empowerment as opposed to encouraging and promoting or enabling victims. Zweli, over to you.
Nikki, thank you so much. Thank you very much on this. If I were to go through everything, I think it would take another hour. But, you know, there's something that caught my attention. The first thing that you started with, you know, as a tip, that, you know, go deeper into what you have, what is available, what is your talent, and, you know, try some side hustle. Because, you know, hoping to find a new job or looking for another job won't solve the problem. I really like that example, because a lot of people would say, you know what, I'm looking for another job while they have a job, and I'm looking for a higher paying job, and not understanding that a higher paying job has got higher deductions as well. So you may end up with the same problem, because when you say you want to afford things and you're looking for a better job, chances are once you get a higher income, your lifestyle will also be upgraded and bring you more stress. You understand? So that mentality, because if you're looking for a better job, it's okay, as long as you understand that it doesn't already mean that you need to upgrade your life in terms of the cost of living, because that's where the problem is with some of the people. You're looking for a better job, you find a better job, now it grants you the opportunity to upgrade the cost of living, and that's where we miss it, and you find that you don't really address the problem. Instead, you are making it worse because now your debts are getting higher. Because now from 10,000, you're surprised that now I'm earning 30,000, but my my bills are more. It's because you decided to upgrade the cost of living. So thank you for that example. But there's so many, even the last one, I think it's something that people can take away to stay away from harmful behavior. I really think it's a very good tip because a lot of people will say, I'm going to a tavern just to release my stress. I'm going to a nightclub, and you don't understand the harm that you are doing, because you go to a nightclub, you spend 500 rands with the hope that your problems will go away. In the morning, you've got a headache and a headache,
Yes.
and you're still owing that money. You go to Monte Casino with praying that you'll catch the jackpot, and it doesn't happen. You come back to the same problem. So yeah, it's very true, and it's out there, and I think people can really take something away from these tips. And you are right. Your tone was very, very like, and you sounded like a teacher.
I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but it's something that I needed to get across to the viewers and listeners.
I'll take it as a compliment, because you are a soft-spoken person. So if you're addressing a serious issue like that, people will really hear you. No, thank you so much, Nikki. Just the last one. I know that there's probably support out there that is available for people. Can you maybe mention what support is out there for people who are currently experiencing financial stress? But before you go there, last point on the tips, people must understand, like you said, we are trying to empower, we are not imposing. And we don't say we understand all situations. All people can do with the tips is like take it as a progressive thing. You know, it's not going to happen overnight, especially with the savings for 6 months. Take the information, use it, and try and get to that level. We are not saying today everything
Yes.
like that, because the aim is to empower people over time, because
Correct.
some people think these ones are mad. How can I save for 6 months? You know, and you don't really understand that it won't take you 6 months to save for 6 months expenditure. It could take you 3 years, but
Yes.
you still have the opportunity to do it. Because all we are saying is that take this, and baby steps will lead into a better financial management lifestyle. If people understand where we're coming from, we are coming from an empowerment point of view, not imposing or saying this is the best that you can ever have. No, we are not saying that. But yeah, thank you. So Nikki, on the point of getting support, I think that will be our last point.
Sure, Zweli. So let me look at addressing physical or mental health issues first. So if any of the viewers or listeners do not have a medical aid, they can go to one of our government hospitals, or hospitals have departments which are dedicated to mental health issues. They can also look at contacting SADAG, so that's the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Their toll-free number is 0800 567 567. So they counsel over issues such as depression, anxiety, trauma, and suicide. Their website also contains details of other resources or helpline numbers. The Anxiety Doctor also has a lot of other resources listed on their website. So their website is www.theanxietydoctor.com. And from a financial aspect, all banks have debt review helplines. So consult with your bank and request the number for the debt review helpline, and have a discussion with one of the counselors. Also, listeners can consider working with debt counselors who don't, and I stand to be corrected, don't charge for their initial consultation. But I'm not going to spend time on this because, as we've mentioned, we do not support or encourage people going under debt review or speaking to debt counselors. The final one would be try and seek out assistance from a certified financial planner. You can often contact them and let them know that you're unable to pay their fee, but a lot of certified financial planners do offer pro bono sessions, and perhaps they'd be open and willing to assist you. So these are just some of the quick resources that I can think of off the bat. And it's really maybe what you can do is just add this information on the podcast link so people are able to refer back to the websites and toll-free numbers. So in a nutshell, listeners, viewers, don't despair. No matter what you're going through, there is some form of support or assistance out there. The first step is acknowledging you have a problem and thereafter seeking the appropriate support.
Thank you, Nikki, for a very insightful podcast. I really think that, or believe that listeners and viewers will certainly be empowered around their financial stress and know exactly what to do. Thank you so much. This was a very interesting and insightful one, like always, but also it's very relevant to our daily lives. I think we do touch on relevant topics, but this one, I don't think anyone can say I've never been under. Even the richest people, they still go. You can tell that they go through financial stress because of the bigger amounts that they have to pay. So it's definitely something that will help whoever that goes and watches or listens to this episode. Thank you so much. And yeah, also just my last words would be, be you said it, be kind to yourself, be kind to yourself, and acknowledge that you are going under certain financial stress, and try and seek for help. And like I said, we are all going through something, a bit of maybe not all, because I always say all, but maybe not all of us are going through this, but some of us are going through this. You're not alone, but try and seek help. Use the information that we've made available so that you can be empowered, especially the tips on how to manage it, and also look at what you're going through, how it has affected you. Those are the things that you can take away and really work with that. Because if you are in denial that your stress comes from your bills, and you keep on saying, no, it's my kid, it doesn't listen, and yet you know that your stress is money, you are going to end up, punishing your child for nothing, because, your child maybe didn't write one homework, and you're always fighting with them and always referring to this homework. But the truth is you are stressed financially, and
Valid.
you don't want to acknowledge that. So these are the things that we are trying to say. Look deep into your problems and try and manage them with the tips that you've been given. Thank you so much, Nikki, for a great episode. I'll give the floor to you as we are closing.
So viewers, listeners, everyone at some age or stage of their life goes through some sort of stress, whether it's some emotional stress, whether it's physical stress, whether it's financial stress. It's just part of life. But what is important is to be kind and compassionate to yourself, as Zweli mentioned. Don't name, shame, and blame yourself. Go easy on yourself. Acknowledge that you do have a problem, and there are many organizations out there who can support you. So just be aware of that. Know that you're not alone. And to you, Zweli, thanks again thanks again for a phenomenal podcast. It was really enjoyable, and I trust the content is of great value to the listeners and viewers. Listeners and viewers, it would be amazing if you'd reach out to us on our social media platforms just to let us know your thoughts around today's podcast. So just share anything that you'd like to, and we look forward to engaging with you on our next podcast. Bye for now.
He's stubborn.
Bye.